Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of PTA Podcast. I'm your host, Brian, and this week I'll just be by myself because uh, both of my co-hosts are not feeling too well, so it'll just be me for this week. It'll be a little bit shorter than usual. We'll just be covering the patch notes and the new character. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. This week's patch is 36.0. Got a quick overlook here. Some buffs to some characters that aren't performing too well. Some nerfs to the overperforming characters. Specifically some dagger characters like Jackie, who's kind of running rampant in solos right now. So yeah, we got Nicky, who is essentially, we're bringing Vi over from League of Legends with a rage mechanic. We'll go over her numbers a little bit later. She looks pretty solid, definitely looking to be coming out better than William, at least as far as what I'll be predicting. I think I'll go ahead and throw it out here. I think she's probably going to be low A tier, as far as a character. She doesn't seem super broken, mainly because she's going to be held back by her rage mechanic, but we'll jump into that later. New skin for Rozzy, looking pretty cute. Definitely going to be getting this. I don't even play Rozzy, but the skin looks really good. Some new, blanking on the name, some Adriana emotes, looking pretty cute. Some tutorial improvements. I'm not going to go over them too much because I don't particularly care. If you guys care about something that I'm skipping over, feel free to check out the patch notes at playeternalreturn.com. Some character selection improvements. Now you can see what everyone in the lobby is playing, and you can actually pick your character based on that. You can pick your character, weapon, and then choose your route all at the same time on the same screen. So, pretty exciting stuff. Let's say, for example, new character Nicky coming out. You before you'd have to pick the character and kind of, cross your fingers and you hope there's not too many Nickys in the game that you'll be competing for, or competing over routes for. So now you can see how many Nickys there are, and you're like, all right, maybe next game I'll play the character, switch based off of that. Pretty cool. Really excited for that. Some scoreboard improvements. We're going to see the timers now for Tree of Life, Next Meteorite Impact, and Wiccaline now. Also, visually, it looks a little bit different now for the characters and the items they have, so be interesting to see how that looks in-game. They have a little picture here, but it's kind of more about feeling rather than visual. I think it's a refreshing change of pace, though. CCTVs, this is the surveillance cameras you have in different zones. If you control CCTV, you can see about 4 different quadrants in an area. So now it has lights based on who controls it. So you'll see a green light if you control it, red light if an enemy controls a CCTV, and if both you control it and an enemy controls it, it'll still glow red. So basically now you can see if an enemy has the surveillance cameras or not. It'll glow red if so. I don't know too much about the lore, but they're changing one of the icons at the end of the game to Dr. Nadja. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that. But I guess she's like super important in the lore of the original game. Cool. Some character model changes. GeForce support, you can now essentially play on your phone if you have a PC that has an NVIDIA graphics card. Faster cooking time. Just faster cooking all around for all tiers of food. Super good. Less time wasted cooking. Actually, that saves a lot of time for Jukai, but Jukai's got some changes down the list, so we'll go over those when we get there. Healing reduction buffs for ranged characters can now heal a little bit more, going from 30% to 35%. You can now move faster at the start. I think this kind of this doesn't change a lot if you spawn right next to a box and you click it right away. It does change, so you do get a speed boost for 5 seconds when you load into the game. You can actually use this speed boost to, let's say hypothetically you spawn in like Temple, right? And you spawn kind of towards the top right corner. There's like a spawn point there. You can actually backtrack towards where the top right bear would spawn with the speed boost, so that way you can route straight to the teleporter. Because there's actually going to be some boxes on your right, and normally when you spawn Temple, for example, this is just an example, you want to loot to the left towards the teleporter. But having an increased speed boost means you can actually cut to the right and not waste too much time. So that way you can, get more boxes on your way to the teleporter. So I think this changes things in that case, but it's not a huge change, but I think it's a nice quality of life for people who want to like kind of adjust their routing on spawn if they don't like where they were. So now, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. Character balance. So Luke's E is costing a lot of mana for it not doing a whole lot, so they're just buffing the mana cost. Doesn't cost as much late game now. Linux, they say that she's a little bit too easy to move around, or like she moves too quickly. So they're gonna be nerfing her move speed, but they're increasingly slow on her I was gonna say her flay because it was like Thresh from League, but they're increasing the move speed reduction on her Whiplash, her E. So less HP per level, less attack or more attack power per level, less move speed, but a bigger slow on her E. Nothing too big. This doesn't make or break the character. Leon, a small nerf to his base attack power. Rio, this change on Rio really only affects her ant builds in my opinion. But the refund reduction when landing her W is going to be 50% instead of 70%. As an auto attacker, that's just the last ability you max. As an amp character, is your first ability. So this really just touches her amp build. So less refund on the cooldown on that. Magnus, he's going to have a little bit higher attack speed, a little bit less defense from his passive, and the stun doesn't last as long when he hits someone against the wall. Bernice, his attack comes out faster, and his base attack speed is slower. So essentially, he scales worse with attack speed, but when he goes to fire off the attack, it's less likely to get dodged by the target moving. So we'll have to see how that comes out in game. I'm a little bit interested, because the most common example is you can actually easily miss a boar with an auto attack as Bernice when they charge. Because you'll start your auto attack, the boar will charge, and your attack will go to where it was. So interested to see if this fixes an issue like that. Jukai, this is probably the biggest change of the patch. The stacks he gets, or the HP he gets per stack is going from 7 to 3, so they're cutting it in more than half. And his stacks are now capped out at 150, so he can no longer infinitely stack. The bonuses, but he gets extra bonuses based on hitting different tiers of his passive. So once you get 50 stacks, you get 10 defense, 100 stacks, 15 attack power, 150 stacks, 150 HP. Also, just flat up, his ult takes one more time, no matter what rank you have it at. So he's going to be severely less tanky. Giving him 15 attack power at 100 stacks of his passive, I think, is a good change. It incentivizes him to, interact more with other players, I guess. To fight more, because he's a little bit stronger. And because I'm fine with giving him the attack power, because it took off so much HP that he would get for free. Cicella, her Q does less damage, but it takes less health to cast the ability. Sylvia, when she goes to a new area and she gets fuel, it can now happen more frequently, every 25 seconds instead of every 30. Aya's base attack speed has been increased, as well as her base HP. Isol, his E cooldown at max rank is now much higher, or not much higher, 2 seconds higher. They actually did this last patch, I believe. It was 10 seconds, nerfed it to 12. Now it's gone from 12 to 14. And his ult at Mockmine has a higher cooldown at higher ranks as well. So it used to scale from 30 to 20. Now it scales from 30 to 26 seconds. Alex, some changes to his attack power stacking on his ability. So instead of it stacking 3 times, it stacks 2 times based on the form you used it in. So you can stack it twice in melee and stack it twice in ranged. I don't think this actually matters, because this ability, the attack power is not noticeable, in my opinion. I'm sure it adds up mathematically, but it's not noticeable. You generally just use the abilities for damage. So, I mean, it's kind of a nerf to like the one stance forms, but it doesn't really matter, because the abilities are still going to get used for the ability damage rather than the attack power scaling. A nerf to his taunt duration in his melee form. They buffed this recently and then immediately nerfed it again, so I'm actually not surprised at all. William, been super underperforming in games, came out really weak, so let's see what they do to him. Extra defense, base defense, extra HP per level, extra move speed. His passive lasts longer, and his Q gives less attack speed when you activate it, and his W has a lower cooldown early on. I think his biggest issue is he just doesn't do enough auto attack damage. But there's kind of a theme in this game, is I don't think they actually like auto attackers in their game, so I think they prefer characters. I think they heavily favors spellcasters, and I think the only exception is Heart. Whoever's in charge of balance seems to have a soft spot for Heart, in my opinion. That's the way it feels. So, I mean, William, a little bit of buffs, but I don't think it's actually going to change a whole lot. Let me double check here. Base defense, HP, move speed. Nah, they didn't increase his damage. If anything, they nerfed his DPS because they took off attack speed from his Q. So if anything, William's going to be doing less damage now. So, nope, definitely not what's going to be needed. Character needs damage, not tankiness. Fine for a character to be squishy if they do damage. Yuki. Passive does an extra 5 damage at all ranks. Good change. 11. This character just keeps getting buffed over and over again. She gets another 3 base defense, some SP regen, 11 set, max stacks 5 to 6. Oh, this must be her combo meal. So I guess you can. Oh yeah, because it would make 2. Yeah. So essentially, you can make 2 at a time. So it's essentially fish and chips now. Fish and chips stacks up to 6 as well. So you can stack up to 6 combo meals now instead of 5. Burger Queen. So landing, I believe this is for both. I don't think maybe it slows originally. I'm not sure. Anyways, landing her Q slows by a lot more early on, and then kind of scales up to about the same amount of slow at max rank. And the bonus damage has been increased when fully charged, so it went from 64 to 72. W now gives damage reduction for 2 seconds when fully charged. E now drops faster when short charged, or when charged for a short time. So little short hops bring you out of the air quicker. That's good. Zahir, just extra base defense, nothing else. Jackie, less move speed on her W by 4% at max rank. Maybe I'm playing this character wrong, but this is the last ability I've been maxing on her. Been maxing Q, then E, then W, and then obviously her passive last. So I don't know. This doesn't change a whole lot about her early game impression, which I think is fine. Not oppression, aggression, I should say. I think it's fine to have Jackie, with her thematically being a serial killer, to be aggressive early. So I guess they're just nerfing her late game move speed. Unless I'm just playing the character wrong, which is totally possible. I don't play the character a whole lot. Kathy, passive, additional critical strike damage going down. Would they say why? Kathy's surgeries are going too well in every tier, toning her down a tiny bit. I don't like nerfing her crit damage on her passive, because then you're just turning her into a bruiser. Essentially, if you're buffing, because they've buffed her defense like recently multiple times, like her HP per level and whatnot. But then if you're gonna nerf her crit damage, you're essentially turning her into a bruiser. I always imagine her as kind of like an assassin auto attacker, but I don't know. I guess they gave her a shield on her passive, so maybe she's intended to be a bruiser. I don't know. If that's what they intend, I mean, good for them. Losing crit damage though kind of sucks. Kiara, her W. Oh yeah, I think I read this. Yeah, so they're trying to differentiate. They're trying to nerf the tank build, but without hurting the crit build. So they're taking off. The W does less base damage, but has a higher attack power scaling, and then the shield amount is lower, but has a higher attack power scaling. So essentially, rapiers that aren't Mistleton, so because Mistleton only gives like 30 attack power. If you're building other rapiers, such as Voltocleto, Meteor Claymore, and Durandal, they all have like almost double the attack power. You're getting a lot more attack power value out of your shield now as compared to before, but the base is lower, so Mistleton's going to get nerfed. Mistleton builds are getting nerfed on her a little bit. Heart has more base attack power, slows herself a little bit more now when using her Q, and her E now is flat 25 mana and doesn't cost more mana later on. Okay. Hyunwoo, less HP per level, less attack power scaling on his ult later on, and the cooldown has been buffed by 5 seconds. So feel free to ult the bears more often, I guess. Glove weapon mastery. The attack speed's up, the normal attack amplification is up, but the skill amp is down on glove. Yeah, and then Bloodwing Knuckles getting 15 HP. This glove is bad. I wouldn't recommend Bloodwing Knuckle to people. Maybe if you're learning the game, you can build Bloodwing Knuckle just because it gives you HP to make mistakes. But overall, it's not a very good glove. Glock, new pistol added. So it's the FN57 and an EMP drone. FN57 is leather plus laser pointer, and EMP drone is surveillance camera plus gunpowder. So this is 2-zonable between cemetery and hospital, and it gives 70 attack power, 20% attack speed, average move speed. All pistols, I believe, give move speed. 0.5 attack range and 8 ammo. So if you're going, hypothetically, if you're going cemetery hospital for this pistol, and then you just TP to dock after, that's how most crit builds are out. So this could be basically the standard crit pistol. It'd be interesting. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if Rozzy ends up building this instead of Electron Blaster, just because Electron Blaster has been hit a couple times on the ENAD. Rozzy's passive can crit, for anyone who doesn't know. But I believe they got nerfed recently too. It used to be like 80% when maxed out. I think it's only 70% of the base attack now. And also, crit builds generally don't seem to be that good against, because everyone's got so much HP in the game. We'll see. But I think this is going to be a crit pistol, in my opinion. Dagger. So with the weapon ability, dagger with the weapon ability no longer is a guaranteed crit. I do believe it can still crit based on your crit chance. It's just the guaranteed crit has been removed. Also gives away a decent amount less move speed when using it. Frag-a-rack, losing 3 attack power, 0.0 to move speed. I think the biggest nerf to this is the guaranteed crit off of dagger skill, and Frag-a-rack getting a small nerf is not too bad, but it used to be you would Frag-a-rack with the focused impact, guaranteed crit, into dagger skill guaranteed crit, and it was just a little bit much. That's why Dagger Jackie's been doing really well recently. So yeah, I think these are more aimed at Jackie. I guess if they're saying Kathy's performing really well, this is obviously going to hurt her too. But the Frag-a-rack with the new guaranteed crit, a little bit oppressive with dagger skill on top of that. So nerfing that. Axe buffs across the board. Juggernaut has which is the attack speed axe, now has less of an attack range penalty. Parashu, which I believe it's the green accessory you can build in the temple. I forget what it's called. It's like Buddha something. It's like that, and then I forget what the rest of the build is. But anyways, that axe is getting more cooldown reduction. And then Harpy, which I believe it's an anti-healing skill damage axe. You're getting a little bit more skill damage. Tells you how much I play axe. I know what Juggernaut is because I just love that axe, but yeah, a little bit extra skill damage on Harpy. Parashu getting a little bit more cooldown reduction, and then Juggernaut less attack range penalty. Assault Rifle, Type 95 getting 4 more attack power. This gun needs something else in my opinion. I don't know what I would like to see. I think it needs scaling ENAD, to be honest. This is pretty much a tree griefing weapon, because this gun neither has ENAD nor does it have crit chance. So depending on either build, you get outscaled by the crit assault rifle or the or Agni. So both of those ARs are just like strict upgrades. Type 95 has the attack range, which is really only useful early on, and then later on, people with mobility skills, cooldowns are much lower later in the game, so the attack range is much less useful later on. So this weapon, having attack power, extra attack power early on is nice and all, but I mean, it's really only early game. You generally want to build an Agni later on to get off of this weapon. Rapier, less attack speed from weapon mastery, a little bit more attack damage with weapon mastery. Hammer of Dagna, this is usually the default regen hammer. Less HP regen, a little bit more attack power, a little bit more ENAD. Small buff to 11, I believe. And I believe preemptively some of this HP regen's getting nerfed because they're adding a new regen arm piece. Weight of the World, this is the cooldown reduction, focused impact, like, skill amp, like, has everything. I don't think it has skill amp. No, actually it does. I think it's like 10%. 10 or 15. But yeah, this weapon is kind of insane and they're buffing it, so. Nice little Sua buff here. 3 more attack power. The guaranteed crit comes up 1 second earlier from 4 seconds to 3. Bat. I believe I've only been seeing this bat on Luke. It's kind of like a weird build too. I think Mike Chang made it. Maybe it wasn't Mike Chang. I was watching a stream. It was Vadra, and then it was like Imperial Bergennet with like Sheetha Shah Jahan. It was like an attack power skill amp build. Anyways, but yeah, the bat's losing 4 attack power, and I think the only character I've seen it on is Luke. Crossbow, a little bit more skill amp per weapon mastery. Ballista finally losing the attack speed penalty, so I'm gonna give my seal of approval for Nadine that want to go skill amp but want crossbow weapon skill. If you're going skill amp though, I mean, Rain of Arrows is generally gonna be better off for poke, so I think you only go ballista if you need self peel for your team if you're worried about getting jumped on. Otherwise, you're still better off going golden ratio for skill amp. Golden Ghost, this is the Enad crossbow, getting 3 more attack power. Discurry, carbonated water dual swords, it's, or I should say, ionized battery plus dual swords. 8% more attack speed. Nunchucks, 2 extra skill damage on the skill amp one, 3 extra attack power on Cerberus. Doesn't actually matter. Both these weapons still suck. Actually, I take that back. Smiting Dragons is okay in team modes, but in solos, this doesn't actually matter. And then Cerberus is the case. Cerberus just needs a little bit of attack speed. Just like 15%, or like 20%. Just give it like a little bit of attack speed. Shuriken, skill amp for wind and firewalls going up by 2%. Pedal Torrent nerf, 3 less attack power, 5 less extra skill damage, but a quicker recharge time. Pretty sure it's just a straight Cicella nerf. No one else really builds this. Because they didn't touch the Enad, which is the biggest reason you build the Shuriken, which is for the fat auto attacks. I think you generally swap off to a backup Shuriken. Erendite getting 5 extra Enad. Kind of noticeable considering this is an early grief weapon, most notably seen on Yuki and Alex. Usually go factory into, sorry, not factory. Alley into factory, and just kind of go ham with this weapon. Getting 5 extra Enad, which is true damage for anyone who doesn't know. So essentially, Yuki got like 5 extra true damage on his passive earlier, and then now his grief weapon is getting 5 extra true damage. So kind of scary. Maybe not a big deal though. Excalibur, which is the regen sword, a little bit extra attack speed, a little bit less regen. Sniper Rifle, the Moonstone Sniper Rifle is losing 5% skill amp. Spear, Blazing Lance, 10 more attack power. I think it was originally at like 130, 120, something like that. Then they added the new Smolder effect to it, and they like preemptively nerfed the attack power. Now they're rebuffing it because Smolder just doesn't really fit in the game right now, in my opinion. Fights need to be fast, and Smolder doesn't have time to take effect. Or maybe we just don't really have characters that abuse Smolder yet. Throw. Okay, so yeah, weapon mastery, a little bit more attack speed for throw characters. David Sling getting a little bit more Enad. Less regen though. Fireball, I believe the only character I've seen this on is Zahir and Adriana. Getting a little bit extra skill damage per level, going from 3 to 3.5. And Grenade of Antioch, losing some Enad, getting 3 extra charges though, and charging time going down from 30 to 24. Interested to see how this goes, because yeah, let's say 20, right? So you got, let's hypothetically say this max charges is 20, right? So you got 20 times 50, that's quick math, that's like 1,000, right? Yeah, that's 1,000. And Enad is true damage unless you have Natter, which is normal attack damage reduction. So that's 1,000 true damage if you use every single charge of your Grenade of Antioch. Plus what the attack power is, I think it's like 50 or something. So you're getting like almost a 1,000 true damage. I guess it would be like 900 true damage because you only have 18 charges. So yeah, essentially one grenade of Aniot can give you 900 true damage in auto attacks without even counting the attack power. So, I mean, that's a lot of true damage. Might actually be useful now. Maybe it might become a William weapon. Not sure. But yeah, 900 true damage if you have every stack up. But I don't think you'll have every stack up because you're farming animals, so... And then the recharger is still super high. I don't know, man. Maybe. This is what old Smoke Bomb used to be. It was 24 seconds, and it was like 20 charges or something along those lines, and you would actually still run out of auto attacks farming animals, so... Not quite there yet. I don't think they want to make it exactly like Smoke Bomb. They're trying to keep it separate, but I think to make it usable, I might have to do what they did to Smoke Bomb, which is give it like 30 charges and make it like a 20-second recharge time. Because Smoke Bomb is kind of insane now. Super high attack power weapon with like 40% attack speed. So if they want to make like an ENAD throw weapon, like Grenade of Aniot could be like the premier ENAD one. Because I don't think David Sling is cutting it. This is basically having infinite ENAD. Actually, now that I think about it, right? So you have... This is at 50 ENAD. David Sling is now up to 36. Can't really nerf this one much more without making it essentially David Sling, huh? That's tough spot. The Force Core throw weapon, losing a little bit of attack power, but gaining a little bit more attack speed. Tonfa getting more attack speed per weapon mastery, and Plasma Tonfa, which is the one zone Tonfa, is losing 3 defense. Bows, normal attack damage going down per weapon mastery, and Ancient Bolt losing a ton of ENAD. I believe this breaks even at level 17, if I'm not mistaken. Armor, Rocker's Jacket, less attack power, Battlesuit, less natter. Amazonas, less skill damage reduction. Tuxedo, 2 more defense. Blazing Dress, a little bit more burning damage. Sword Stopper, less defense. Sword Stopper, less natter. Burnished Aegis, less defense, but more SP. Creed of the Night, less attack power, but no longer has a move speed penalty. Cube Watch, more defense, because I can't remember the last time I've even seen a Cube Watch in the game, to be honest. So, more defense on that. Nightingale, the new arm piece, has 10 attack power, 120 max HP, and it's essentially Spirit Visage from League of Legends, so anyone that's not familiar. Increases all recovery effects, except in solo mode from kill bonuses, by 20%. And the crafting recipe is Squad Leader Armband and Healing Potion. Healing Potion is going to be Oriental Herb, Flower, Glass Bottle, and Squad Leader Armband, I believe, is going to be Needle and Bandage. So, not sure who's going to route for this, but it could be interesting having a Spirit Visage in the game. The only character I can even see using this realistically is Jackie, actually, like a lifesteal Jackie build. Considering regen has been kind of nerfed across the board. And having 20% increased recovery effects, this does affect like things like food, lifesteal, and like HP regen. But for those of you that didn't know, like the HP regen percentages on weapons would have been way more effective on multiplying your regen instead of this 20%. So this really is not a buff to regen builds in my opinion, but it's really nice for like eating food, and your food is like way more useful. And then like I said, Jackie is like the only one I can think of right now that has a lot of healing in her kit. Could be kind of insane. Actually, now that I think about it, there's one specific instance. Dual swords, if you cause someone to bleed and then activate your W, you heal when attacking a bleeding target. That actually works with the dual sword rampage, which hits 6 times. So you can actually, if you cause someone to bleed, whether from auto attacking with your ult or queuing them, and then you hit W and press D skill, you'll heal a lot of health, like almost like half your health bar, depending on what build you're going. Could be interesting though to see this change. My headset just died, but it's okay because I don't need to hear anything right now. Let's see, Bracelet Scotty, less regen, less HP regen and SP regen. Actually, let me check my headset real quick. Okay, yeah, we're good. It's totally dead. Alright, boots. Crafting the oilcloth plus, what do you call it? Running shoes is now an uncommon instead of a blue. So it went from green to blue to green. so you get less movement mastery from crafting them just by finding extra oil cloths on the ground. I like this change. Makes people a little bit slower late game who are abusing this. Killer Heels, which is broken glass plus slippers and scrap metal. A little bit more move speed. Feather Boots, 5% less attack speed. Maverick Runners, a little bit faster. Bucephalus, less attack power by 5, so they're cutting the attack power in half. But they're increasing the crit chance by 3%. I would consider this still just a Bucephalus nerf. Glacial Shoes, less HP and SP regen. Red Shoes. You now no longer need Broken Glass late game if you get a VF blood sample and want to make red shoes. Now you only need slippers and scrap metal to go with your VF blood sample, because you only need the high heels now instead of killer heels. As well as the shoes have been completely reworked. It no longer has crit chance, has 20 attack power up from 5, and gives a little bit more move speed, and it still retains the lifesteal that I had before. EOD boots, a little bit more trap damage reduction, because no one's building it for trap damage reduction anyways. The new headpiece they added last patch has now been buffed with having thorn mail, essentially. No longer has natter. You can no longer apply grievous wounds with your attacks, but if someone attacks you, it applies grievous wounds, as well as reflects 7% of the damage received to the attackers. As true damage, by the way. They specified earlier that thorns is true damage, and there's a thing later on that's actually kind of like a magic damage. Mithril Helm nerf, more attack speed but less move speed. Most Mithril pieces are built for their defensive and move speed capabilities, not for their attack speed, only exception being Nadine. So I guess it could be seen as a Nadine buff, but kind of a nerf to everyone else who built Mithril Helm. Chinese Opera Mask is doing less damage on its procs, just a tad slower as well. Helm of Banneret, this is the skill damage reduction headpiece, a little bit less defense. The green Quill Fan, Gilded Quill Fan, for melee, you now actually heal for 45% instead of 30%. Magazine, a little bit less HP. They've added 2 new accessories to the game. First one's called Jolly Roger. It's blue, it's a rare. It's built out of Feather Duster and Decorative Flintlock. Gives 12 attack power, 12% lifesteal, and has a new effect that's been added. Charges when moving. Fully charges after moving 24 meters. Gain additional movement speed up to 0.12 based on charge stacks. And on your next normal attack, consume all stacks and inflict up to 120 cellular damage. I believe, let me look up here real quick. Cellular damage could be reduced by defense, I believe. Reducing the effective... Where is it at? Cellular damage is reduced by defense and not affected by crit chance, skill amp, normal attack amp, or extra skill damage. So it's essentially magic damage that can't be amped or modified, but it can still be reduced by defense. And then if you're a melee character with, if you're a melee character with this Jolly Roger new accessory, it applies a 15% slow for 2 seconds. There's also now a legendary White Crane Fan, essentially, is what we're going to call it. It's Gilded Quill Fan, which is the green. It's fan plus nail and a VF blood sample. It still gives grievous wounds. It also has 12% cooldown reduction, and gives you up to 0.2 move speed when moving. I think that's probably... Oh, it's after 20 meters, so it actually charges up quicker than the Jolly Roger as well. And then when you auto attack, up to 200 cellular damage for this legendary accessory. Builds out of VF blood sample. Applies a 30% slow as well if you're in melee, if it's fully charged. Abundant first aid kits give more health now as food. You can hold 1 more recon drone, 1 more EMP drone, and EMP drone no longer has the cast time. Remote mine, now instead of it being a mousetrap and a nail, it's now a mousetrap and iron ore, plus 4 score. Leon has been nerfed in team modes, Alex has been nerfed in team modes, Yuki and Jackie have both been nerfed in team modes, and Shuriken Hedgen has been nerfed in team modes, so interesting to see if we start seeing Bow Hedgen now, or if it's Shuriken still for team modes, because the reason you went Shuriken before is because she essentially had no damage reduction in team modes, whereas Bow was down to like 86% damage dealt, so despite the Shuriken weapons doing less damage stat-wise, because of the weapon damage modifications, Shuriken did more damage just by having weaker stats. But now they've nerfed her into duos and squads, so maybe in duos she still goes Shuriken because it's at 95% damage versus I think what's 88% in bow. But in squad it's been hurt pretty hard, so we'll see how that goes. On watch, it says they're still keeping an eye on Shuriken Hedgen. They still plan on improving the axe, sniper, and dual sword weapon abilities. And then they're considering adding a kill bonus to team modes for killing someone and adding timer to your restricted area timer, which I think is super needed. And then they're thinking about having different timers based on modes. So let's say your solos mode, you have 30 seconds, but maybe team modes, maybe you only have 20 seconds of your timer. So they're thinking about maybe adding that as well. And then some improvements, some bug fixes. I went through earlier. There's nothing super huge. So yeah, that's the patch. Real quick, we'll go over Nicky. Let's see here. So some of this stuff has been mistranslated because I compared when I was reading this earlier to the video that they showed advertising or like showing off her skills. So the first mistake here is it says Nicky converts damage taken by other characters into rage up to 100. Rage can be stacked to a max of 500. So when you read this, it kind of sounds like, oh, like you can get 100 stacks of rage for people auto attacking you, but you have a cap of 500. No, people can auto attack you and fill up your rage bar. And then let me real quick. Where's the other parts? Okay, here it is. Rage depletion. Out of combat is 4 per second. When she's in rage, it's 5 per second. So when they say she's in rage and it depletes 5 per second, but let's say it says right here max 500, it's like, oh my god, she can be in rage for 100 seconds. No, it's just 10 seconds. So I don't know where they messed this translation up. So the numbers are a little bit wonky. So we're not going to worry too much about her numbers. We're just going to go over what she does. So when she's in range, she does AoE skill damage and extra ENAD to the primary target. Her Q, if anyone's familiar with Vi from League of Legends, she charges it up, and then when you release the ability, well, assuming you're playing quick cast, she jumps forward, dealing damage based on how long she charged the ability. It does a slight knockback and reduces, but in this case, it reduces the cooldown of the ability if you landed it. So essentially, it's a weaker runaway tool, but it's a better chase tool. You get 50% of the cooldown back from hitting someone. But this Q has a second cast. Let's see. After the punch, Nicky can land a body blow within 3 seconds. It doesn't say here, but I assume you have to land the ability to activate the second part. But essentially, the second part of her Q is a rage generation mechanic. It deals damage in front of her, and she gets... it says here 100 rage for each enemy hit. Again, the number's a little bit wonk, but if they say max 500 on her rage meter, this should be a percentage, and we might think it's like 20% per enemy hit. So if you hit like a group of chickens, you get like 20% of your rage bar per chicken hit. So hard to tell because the numbers are just so wonky. But this ability goes from 18 to down to a 10-second cooldown, and assuming you hit someone with it without any cooldown reduction whatsoever, it goes on to a 5-second cooldown, assuming you land the ability. Seems a pretty solid ability. I mean, it's literally 2 abilities packed into one. If you were just to go based off of this, I mean, the character's kind of insane. So let's see what the rest she does, though. So her W is essentially Hyun Woo W with a part 2 if you successfully reduce damage taken with it. You can block CC, hard CC, as well as reduce damage taken when you activate it. Again, like I said, it's like Hyun Woo W. If you successfully take damage when you activate the ability, you can activate part 2, which roots nearby enemies and deals damage. Sorry, so she rushes forward, deals a small amount of damage, and roots them for 1 second. Let's see here. And then her E is like a rectangular skill shot in front of her. Not a skill shot. It's like a rectangular hitbox in front of her. It's about, it says here, about 5 meters. Yeah, it's 5 meters long, and 2 meters wide. She jabs in front of her, dealing damage and slowing enemies. If she's enraged, it does a ton more damage and also stuns them for 1 second. And then it slows for 2, so it'll slow them for an extra second after they're stunned, after the stun wears off. And then here's an interesting part. Her ult can only be activated while she's enraged. This might be controversial, I'm thinking. We'll see, because it doesn't do a ton of damage. It's definitely a follow-up ability, but if you compare it to Vi from League of Legends, her ult was her engaged ability in League. This character actually can't do that because she has to have her rage bar up in order to use it. Essentially, she dashes to the enemy player, becoming unstoppable, and uppercuts them, dealing X amount of damage. Not a lot, actually. Not a lot of damage for an ultimate. And then knocks them airborne for 1.1 seconds. Anyone she collides with on the way takes less damage and is knocked sideways. It's only a 5.5 meter cast range, so it's a very short. Cooldown is actually kind of long. It's 100 to down to 80 seconds. And SP cost, not a lot though. Definitely a follow-up ability. Seems kind of strong, but the fact that you need the rage meter up, we'll see how the rage meter mechanic works. Could be problematic. The rage meter only lasts for 10 seconds, and then you become calm and you have to generate it again. So this ability, probably totally fine in solos, but in a team setting, I'm not sure how strong this ability is going to be, because it sounds kind of crazy if you can just kind of activate it willy-nilly, but it being gated by your enrage mechanic, kind of interesting. Alright, and that's going to be it for this week. Sorry it was so short. Both my co-hosts are, like I said, aren't feeling too well, so just doing the patch today. I'll definitely be giving her a spin, telling you guys what I think after her release. I think, like I said, I think she's going to be a low A tier character. She'll probably be pretty good in solos. I think she actually will not be super great in team modes. I think she'll be good in team modes. I think she'll actually be a better solos character, though, than a team mode character. And actually, let's go ahead and check. I don't think they preemptively adjusted her damage ahead of time, so I think she's going to do full damage in solos and squads. Where is it? I think it was... Yeah, Leon, Alex, Yuki, Jackie, Hedgen. Yeah, so they actually didn't touch Nicky, so she's going to be doing full damage in team modes this week. So that's definitely going to get nerfed coming next week when they do the micro patch on Sunday. So play her while you can, while she's doing full damage. Yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you for listening and watching.